Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you a gel printing session that I did live over on Art Joy of Sharing LIVEstream show on December 26th. We have a live stream show every Thursday on Art Joy of Sharing, a different channel than this one, and this is the speed version of that show. So I was wanting to work on my gel plate in a different way, thinking about building a composition on my print a little bit at a time, trying to make kind of like a grid sort of a design by making multiple layers, picking up paint. I'm using multiple plates. You could just do it with one, but it's easier for me to work on multiple plates and spread out my paint. I feel that I waste less when I do that. Excuse me. So the first thing to think about is colors that go together, colors that will work well together. And I usually try to pick 3 colors that I think coordinate well, and then a neutral or 2, neutrals being anything from white, buff titanium, maybe a light yellow like Naples yellow, or black, gray, those type of colors, in addition to my 3 colors. So for this one, I was testing out some DecoArt premium tube paints, and I had quinacridone gold and cobalt teal, which are 2 colors I really like. And so I started with those, and then all the rest of these paints that you see around the edges, those are my Arteza acrylic paints. They are a great value and a way to pick up a good set of paints with lots of colors to choose from that work well with a gel plate if you are just getting started. They're inexpensive but good quality paint. So I am also using some Stencil Girl stencils. These ones that I'm using for most of it are from Stencil Club. That's a monthly club that you can join at stencilgirlproducts.com, where you get 3 stencils a month that are exclusive to club. So I'm also talking about my brayer there. My brayer is very dirty and it's making a weird textures, that 2-inch one. But I like to use the 2-inch one because I can put little patches of color on the plate, and then I can go through, look at it, pick up the pattern and the color by pressing down with my fingers and adding it here and there. And I end with an interesting composition, thinking about rather than just slapping paint everywhere, which sometimes is fun. Don't get me wrong, that's a fun thing to do. And you can come out with great stuff. But if you're thinking ahead about what you're going to do, you might come up with something even more interesting. So that was my plan today, was to try to work with composition on my plate. So after I was done making my main print, then I apply a little thin layer of a neutral color and I pick up what's left. And that gives me a coordinating piece that has similar colors, but is usually like a more pale. And this will work really well with collage. When I tear up these papers, which is usually what happens, I can find areas that I like. I can tear them up and collage them and make interesting color and pattern on a background of a mixed media piece or a journal page or something. I like see how they coordinate together. They go together. So this third one that you see on the right is the 6x6 pickup that I also did. But yeah, fun stuff. So then I decided to switch to some text weight black paper, and I like to use text weight lightweight papers. The other white paper is just plain printer paper from my inkjet printer. Cheap stuff. I like the lightweight paper because I do intend to use these for collage, and I think it's easier to collage with something that's a lighter weight than with like a cardstock or something. So in this case, I'm using all lightweight papers, text weight papers. So I know that if it's a black background, I need an opaque paint. So I went through all the different Arteza tubes and found the ones that had the full square filled in, and that indicator says this is an opaque paint, so that means it's not see-through. Then there's some squares that have half filled, that's semi-transparent, and then there are a couple colors that are completely transparent. So on black paper, transparent paint's not going to work, right? Because the black is going to come through the paint. So I was sorting all the paints, looking for the ones that were opaque, and I'm starting with this red-orange that is an opaque color, and it looks great on the black. Still the same process. I've got some cobalt blue here. Pretty color. I think blue and orangey red go really well together. Still using Stencil Club stencils from different months. I think I've belonged to the Stencil Club now for an entire year. So that means that I have 12 sets of club stencils. Plus, when you're in the club, you can get some of the past month's stencils. Once you're in the club, you can order them. Otherwise, you cannot order them. They're all exclusive to club members. So it's a fun thing to be in. There's a Facebook group that goes with it. So then I decide to add a little bit of a darker color. This is, gonna say sienna. One of the siennas. Just a little bit darker orange to add some more depth to my composition. I'm getting lots of nice pattern on there. I think it's very interesting looking already. And I can't remember if I messed it up or not. Oh, then I decided I needed just a little bit of light. So this, I think, is Naples yellow. Pretty sure it's the Naples yellow. Kind of an orangish yellow color, which then I can bring in some areas of light to contrast with the shadow. So also, as I'm doing that, I'm picking up some pattern because there's paint left on the plate, which comes up when I put that second layer of paint. And I just think it's very interesting. I was having a lot of fun doing this today. I don't know, it was a great exercise in just playing and having fun. And yeah, we were having a good time on the live stream. I hope you guys can join us if you haven't already. It's at 10:30 Central Time in the United States. So you can calculate that to whatever time you live in. Every Thursday on Art Joy of Sharing live stream channel. So then now I'm doing the pickup, cleaning up all the stuff that's on the plates so that I can move on to the next colorway that I want to try. So this time I'm picking them up on white paper. Fun stuff. That might have been the one I showed in the last picture. I didn't keep the sets together, you know, with the colors, and I might have accidentally, in the pictures, put them wrong, maybe. I'm not sure if I did or didn't. I don't know. Anyway, picture coming up of those prints right there. I guess I couldn't find the one that went with it. The other one, I thought it went with a different one because I'm using the same stencils. So, yeah. Anyway, time to pick a new color combo. I decided to start with purple. And then this poor red doesn't have a lid. I've lost it on the floor and I can't find it because there's too much trash down there. So I just put some tape over it. I'm too lazy to dig around and try to clean it and get under the table. And every time I get under the table, when I try to get back up, I whack my head on the table. It's just a comedy of errors. So I can't find the lid to that one. So I just put some tape over it. And I decided to use that color. So I pulled the tape off. And then I have the purple. I think purple and red look really nice together, depending on the tone of the particular colors. This purple has a warm tone to it, so it goes well with the red. And I think that these stencils are from the Mary Beth Shaw and Carolyn Dubie mashup. So we've got some designs from each one. Stencil Girl makes great stencils for mixed media. It's not like, oh, here's a stencil of a bird, although they do have stuff like that. But they have a lot of patterned stencils that give you just interesting textures and patterns during your mixed media processes. So I really enjoy that particular company's stencils. I also am on their creative team, so I do help promote their product until such time as my term ends or whatever. So that you may think that maybe that's why I'm saying that, but it's not actually. I joined their team because I really enjoy their stencils as a tool in my mixed media. So I'm now putting some white over the top. I thought it was just kind of loud. It was too loud for me So I put some neutral over the top, still using the plate, and then I decide I'm just going to use my brayer a little bit and put some more red over the top of some of the areas where I got too pale. That brayer needs to be cleaned. The way you can clean a brayer, if you have one that's as disgusting as mine, is you can soak it with water and Murphy's oil soap. And if you let it soak overnight or maybe 2 days if you have to, you can then peel that entire layer of acrylic paint off, and you will be very happy that your brayer is back to the way it should look because otherwise they can get a little bit weird. So for the cleanup prints, I decided to use lavender, a type of lavender, to pick up all the paint as much as I can off the plates so that I can move to the next colorway. I may have not given you the right picture on this one either. I kind of feel like I didn't. That one was interesting. This one's really interesting. Just trying to get all the paint off the plates so that I can move to a different color combination. But of course, some is always left on there, and those crusty bits really make interesting patterns. Even if they don't go with your next composition, they're so small that they just give you little interesting areas in your prints to look at and to maybe tear out those sections and use them in your collage. So this one on the right is a cleanup. That's when I'm rolling off the excess paint off of my brayer, and those come out really nice too. So this is one of the stencils that has 9 ATC designs on it, and I was talking during this live session about how I wanted to cut these apart. So I may do that. I decided to just use it as it is for now, just putting some paint through it so that I get some pattern and color on my plate by just rolling the brayer over the top of the stencil. And then this is emerald green. This is an opaque paint, so I was able to use black paper with it to start my composition. And I think it's very interesting looking. Gel printing, even if you don't have pattern, looks interesting on paper because it doesn't look like a paintbrush. It doesn't look like anything except for what it is, rolled on monoprint. That's what you call something like this, is a monoprint, because mono means one and you can only get it one time. It'll never look the same no matter what you do. So picking my second color, I decided to go with a yellow ochre color. Same stencil, same patterns, and starting to build my composition on this black text weight paper. And of course I need something else. Trying to decide what else. And I end up picking up this phthalo blue green, which ends up being a semi-transparent paint. So it shows the pattern up on areas where there was already a lighter color paint, which is kind of interesting as well, but won't show up on the black because it's too transparent, too see-through. But you can see where I picked up some pattern of that color, and it worked out interesting, I thought. And then I guess I decided I needed to go lighter just in a few areas. So I'm just brayering through the stencil, getting some of the same pattern on there using titanium buff deep color to give me some lighter areas, and also some of the brayer direct to it because I'm getting a lot of texture with that brayer. It's so coated with stuff that it's just, yeah, it's just, I need to clean it. It's going in the soaker right after this, for sure. So then I clean up the plates using black paint this time to pick everything up off the plate. Some people would call this a cleanup print, but then some other people don't think that this is a cleanup print because usually it's, your ghost print or whatever, rather than putting the paint on there. So I'm not sure. Anyway, I ended up with those three, which are interesting, and they go together. I can use them together on a large canvas or something like that. I really liked this kind of half one over here. It was interesting patterns. So moving on to a different color, going with a different purple. This is the dioxazine purple, which is a darker, more blue colored purple. And starting with that and some different stencils. These are still the same cut up ones from that 1 month of mashup between Carolyn Dubie and Mary Beth Shaw, the founder of Stencil Girl. And I was talking too much during this one and my paint dried on the plate, so I couldn't really get up a lot onto my paper. So I just decided to pick it up with another layer of paint, like you do, like I often do. And I decided to use quinacridone gold from the Deco Art Premium tube paints. And that picked up really well, and it was a great color combination. So I was happy with that. Pretty. That's very pretty. So I kept working with that, getting the paint off my plate and picking up all that beautiful pattern. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. But of course, that's only 2 colors. I need another color. And I thought to myself, maybe I will use this stencil that has a lot of openings and I will put the paint over the stencil. And I decided to use this cool gray color to see how that would look, because I've got 2 very warm colors and I thought it would be interesting for contrast of my composition to add a cool color. So I actually really enjoy that. I think it's great, but it didn't pick up very much, so I had to keep doing it a little bit here, a little bit there. And of course, you've got to constantly be looking at the front and then figuring out what sections you have on the other side to print onto. I think that cool gray looked really nice with those. But then, what did I do after that? Oh, then I just needed to lighten up this area down in the very lower left corner because it was unbalanced, and so I used a little bit of white through 2 stencils to give me some pattern and a shape, and pick that up in a couple areas to just lighten up a little bit because there's a lot of white left on this one. So I was happy with that. These lavender ones are not the ones that go with that now that I realize, but they look nice together. I think they would still go great together, so whatever. So I decided to switch to some green gold Deco Art fluid media paint. Media fluid paint, sorry. These are paints that are comparable to golden liquid paint. Same type of a concept. It's a much more fluid, flowy paint. And I wanted to use green gold, and then I wanted to use phthalo blue with it because I love the combination of those 2 colors. So, and this stencil is from December's Stencil Club offering, and I actually opened it on the show because I hadn't even opened it yet. So it's a cool stencil. It has shapes in the negative and the positive, which I think is really interesting. Designed by Mary Beth Shaw, founder of Stencil Girl. So I'm still working with these 2 colors and adding more pattern and interest to my composition. This is a lot of fun, and I think what I'll probably do with these, even though they look pretty cool as they are, I'll probably go back over them and add some stenciling or stamping before I tear them up and use them for collage. At least some of them I will. Then I will be using them to make mixed media backgrounds on some canvases that I have coming up as gifts, which I have not yet made. It's already past the gift giving holiday that we celebrate here, but I still need to make these gifts. And also, February is a really birthday heavy month in my family, and I generally make art at that time. So I'll be making probably some mixed media collage canvases with some paper painting or something, and I'll be using these on that. Loved that one. That one turned out so cool. I love that little section of it. So then I should have just left it alone, but I wanted to use some copper, and I thought, oh, I'll pick up some of this patterning with the copper, and it dulled my whole thing, so it was not as interesting. I should have just left it. Also changed the color of the blue, of course. I thought it would come out, the copper would come out more translucent than that, but I wasn't happy when that happened. But then I just put some more blue over the top and fixed it back up again. But it wasn't exactly the same as it was before, and maybe I don't like this one as much. But this one, it will be what it is. And I ended up picking up that whole thing with light blue, which turned out really cool. So that's it for me for gel printing today. If you like this, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment or question below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on your notification bells, people. And of course, share this on Pinterest or on Facebook or whatever you want. Instagram if you want. And these is just a quick overview of all the ones I did during the session. And that's it for me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.